Oh my goodness, it's 5:02 p.m. That means it's time for Slay Security Plus. What is going on, everybody? I hope everybody's doing well. We got zero issues right now with our live stream. Everything is streaming good. Everything is streaming well. It's fun to see all of you here. I want to give a quick shout out. Give a chance for the algorithm to catch up to what we're doing. Probably need some music. Let's get a little bit of music going. Ooh. What's up, B-dubs? What's going on, my free spirit? Welcome to the live stream. I'm going to text my brother and see if he is here. We are live. That is my moderators, Margarita Giron and John Vitucci. We are live. Thank you. Get some more of you fine folks that log on stream. Play guitar, I guess. Got this old boy. So this is I've brought this on stream a couple times. This is a Fender custom shop build in the sense that the body and all of the components from the neck down are from the Fender custom shop. These are Klein. These are called pickups for those of you that are not in the music world. You don't see me on YouTube, One with the Force? It says I'm live on YouTube. Try again. Let me know. So these are pickups. Each one of these little posts really are just magnets with wires wrapped around them. And when the string vibrates, boom, it picks that up. Right. This is my favorite guitar too. It's not even, look at that. Look at that. No actual brand. It's just an unbranded thing that I built. It's a Franken guitar. And it's my favorite one. This is my tribute to Van Halen. So this is a made in Japan Charvel, which is basically, give or take, the first guitar that Eddie Van Halen built for himself over time. It was made in Japan. Originally, it's actually this color. Let's see if we get on camera. It's actually this color, but somebody in the eBay world, before they sold it to me, painted it this really cool. They did a good job, thank goodness. Otherwise, we have an eBay dispute. They painted this cool gunmetal black or gunmetal gray, and over time, it is worn away to like the blues coming through. It's dope. Yo, how's it going? So this is Slay Security Plus. Yes, sir. This is right now. It is. Pulse of Cyber Command. Goodness, that is a long name. That's a good name though too. Slay Guitars Plus. Yeah, I'll take it. I will take it. We're gonna do a little bit of Q&A for your old humble host here, and here soon I've got a very special guest I'm wicked excited to bring on. Thank you. Nice collection. Thank you, sir. I've got a couple cases. Well, by a couple, I mean 6 cases here with guitars in them, but those aren't doing. Will there be a recording of this? Hey, cybersecurity clarity, there will be a recording of this. It will be living forever on YouTube, unless somebody tells me otherwise. Tonight's beverage sponsor is, like last time, Athletic Brewing Company. When you want the drink, but you don't want the drunk, stick to Athletic Brewing Company. It's crisp, clear, and refreshing brewing style, preserves all of the flavor with none of the hangover. Athletic Brewing Company. What's going on, Capone 576? Hey, I know what's up. What's going on, Slay Security Plus family? Let me know in the chat how you guys are doing. How is your journey going? If you're getting ready to take the exam, if you've taken the exam, if you know someone who's going to take the exam, how has their journey been? How has your journey been? I know we've got a few people in chat who have taken the exam. I know we've got a few people in chat who are just here for the ride. Again, welcome to Slay Security Plus. Got to get started and thank our show sponsors, Dr. Jerry Ozier and the Simply Cyber community. Thank you for your continued support. Also thank our moderators, Margarita Giron, Justin Gold, and John Vitucci for your continued support. Thank you so much. B-Dubs, it's my boss. Oh, wait. Just kidding. I don't know. I forgot. I didn't make a public announcement. Is Jesse Slay your stage name? No. Yes, it is. B-Dubs 2. Let's get started. So today's Slay Security Plus, she's a mod. Well, yeah, she is a mod. She is a mod. B-Dubs is a mod, and I'd like to thank her for being here. Yeah. We got some amazing moderators that make this all happen. I'm getting yelled. I feel like Jerry. I'm getting yelled at by my team. I didn't forget. I just misplaced. Come on. Okay, if you are just joining us, welcome to Slay Security Plus. I am your host, Jesse Johnson, and over the next 45 minutes to an hour, give or take, Margarita Giron, B-Dubs, Justin Gold, Casually Joseph, Capone 576, and many of you are going to be slaying your Security Plus 601 tonight. I want to make sure that I'm giving a heads up if you're watching this live stream. It's probably only a matter of weeks before we are going to be transitioning to 701. And I want to make everybody aware that we'll be dissecting that versus 601 because I want people to be prepared. And, they're about to sunset that sucker. Okay, let's get started. I'm running on very little sleep. It's been a rough day in the cyber IT world for your humble host here. Cyber is hard. It's not for the faint of heart. And I would say even more so, sometimes it gets messy. These aren't things that any certification or textbook can prepare you for. And so, like Mad Max, welcome to the Thunderdome, baby. Right? Welcome to the show. As you enter this field, it's easy to get caught up in the ones and the zeros. But I want everybody that's coming into this, if this is your first time here or you're brand new to cybersecurity, remember that the human element is still there. And really, at the end of the day, we are protecting humans, not just ones and zeros. And so it's just an interesting world we live in. I've got a very special guest tonight. So as we've done this, as we've navigated our way through Slay Security Plus, most of what we do is based on a hypothetical world where we're talking about scenarios. I want to bring on a very special guest. This guest has recently taken their Security Plus and passed it, and they work in the industry. I'm going to let them speak for themselves. I want you to give your utmost attention and give a big shout out to Joseph Cadden here. Casually Joseph.
How's it going?
What's going on, Joseph? How are you?
You make me sound much more impressive than I am.
That's fair. That's fair. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, man.
I'm glad to be here, honestly. I'm glad that you were able to make it. I know the situation that's going on. It's tough. It's tough to find the energy to keep on streaming, even though it gets hot behind the keyboard sometimes.
It gets hot. Welcome to the party, pal. We got Tony Parrish in chat. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and throw chat on. So What's going on, Tony Parrish? Welcome to the party, pal. Well, Bruce Willis there. Joseph, walk us through. So if you're I want to take it to your day one. You are just now, you've signed up for your exam and it's a couple days to the exam. Can you walk us through what that experience is like? You just took it. Let us know. Actually, let's rewind. Who are you? What are you doing? And talk to us about your Security Plus experience.
So I'm Joseph Cadden, as mentioned earlier. Right now, I'm a vulnerability manager for a small company, DFIR MSSP Barricade Cyber. Um, I do a lot more than just vulnerability manage, but when you work for a small company, it's a lot of hats, right? Um, I'm aspiring DFIR, and
What is it?
I.
If you are just now getting into cybersecurity,
Mhm,
and you were watching Jerry's live stream, and he said,
mhm.
Jesse Johnson, Slay Security Plus, or whatever, and you're just tuning in, what is DFIR?
DFIR stands for Digital Forensics and Incident Response. Basically, monitor the environment, look for anything that's abnormal, um, respond to it, contain it, eradicate it. There's a whole cycle with incident response, and really, it's just getting down into those logs, helping to put the fire out is what it is.
At the
Um,
end of the day, so do you work
mhm.
with people or do you work with computers typically? Break us down, as far as so a vulnerability management position, doing what you do, working for Barricade Cyber. What does do you talk to people or is it just ones and zeros?
So it's a lot of people. I find more and more as we mature security programs that I get face to face with our clients more often. When you're first in the beginning, you're really learning the environment. So you start with the computers, you start with the architecture. You want to know what's going on in this environment that you're trying to secure. But you have to learn who's using these computers, why they're using these computers, what they need these for, and then you can really get your vulnerability plan down.
So you say check out that hair. Margarita Giron. There's two people with hair on the screen. I know. Look at that.
Yeah.
Big old, you got a bushy old beard growing too. So what I'm hearing is that you still the more you're still dealing with the human aspect versus,
Oh,
because at the end of
absolutely.
the day, we're, as cybersecurity professionals, we are looking at data, we're looking at credentials, and we think on the logical side of things, but at the end of
hmm
the day, it has to do with people.
hmm And especially if you come into an environment where it's more enterprise, bigger teams, typical workflows, you're going to need soft skills like being able to communicate clearly and time management. That's a huge one. You don't want to
Is that
waste
something
anybody's
that
time.
you're prepared for in Security Plus time management?
No. Oh, no, 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 no. They do. Security Plus does kind of talk about how you should do things in a specific order to use your time most effectively. But I find that with things like time management, you really do just kind of have to sit in the boiling water for a while before you figure out how to do it correctly. And that's something I struggled with for a while, is figuring out how to best effectively use my time and not just waste my time, right?
Are you, so in your world, do you have a manager that's breathing down your neck 24/7? Are you kind of, yeah, let us know. What is your day to day as a cybersecurity professional in your role? And obviously, you can't give specifics, but
Mhm,
walk us through what does your day look like for people that are just getting into the industry, or maybe are walking into those entry level roles, or maybe are getting, they're interested in red teaming, and so they're starting at vulnerability management, or that kind of thing. What does your everyday look like?
So I would say how we more so operate is atypical because it's a smaller business. But for me, it's typically I answer to my boss, who is Eric Taylor. Um, And so,
Insert dolphin emoji.
yeah, oh yeah. Um, and he's a man of very high expectations. He doesn't micromanage. Micromanaging really is um, micromanaging is not beneficial for anybody because you're using too much of your time to make sure that somebody else is doing everything exactly how you want it, which causes them to have to step back and communicate with you. There has to be a level of management where you tell them what you expect, and if they don't deliver upon those results within the amount of time that was expected, either they have a reason why or they, get the boot, right? um but micromanaging is not good for anybody, and Eric is not a micromanager. We more so operate as a vulnerability manager specifically, which is what I do. We operate on almost quota. There is an acceptable amount of vulnerability in an environment.
I want to pause right here
Hmm.
because, and hold your thought. I think this is really important.
Hmm.
Really, really important for people who are idealists, maybe just getting in the industry. Patch it all. Patch everything. Why does everything suck? Like,
Yeah,
patch it all. Like,
patch it all. Do it.
walk us through why that's, you just kind of start talking about why is that. Like, we're hearing in Security Plus, right? You're studying for Security Plus, and don't
Hmm.
worry if this is your first time here. We will get to some questions.
Hmm.
I think it's really important that we look at what the industry looks like versus what we're taught in manuals, and so gotta patch it. And so yeah, to go back, like, that's not really realistic, is it?
Oh, no, no, no. Um, a lot of times in environments, you'll find some funny things, especially as you get in the environments more, right? When you first get into an environment, it's pretty, right? It's like a high school relationship. You got your puppy dog phase. You're like, oh, they got a domain controller over here. They got their web server over here. Everything's compliant. That's awesome. Oh, they have whatever
This
compliance
company
framework they're
actually
working with.
separates they separate their domain controller from
Oh,
their web server.
for sure. Oh yeah, yeah. Sometimes. um, and then as you're with that environment a little more and you're digging into it more, you find servers that are a decade out of date. You find the people still hanging on to their Windows 7, and you find a lot of line of business apps, also known as LOBs, are running on legacy tech, and you can't patch legacy tech.
What
There's a
is
few.
legacy tech? If you're just getting here and you've heard
Mhm.
that word in the industry, what is legacy tech? Is it old?
Legacy tech. Yeah, yeah. I mean, so right now our standard would be Windows 11 because Windows 10 actually just got its end of life announcement for 2025.
Mhm.
With
But if you pay,
server
apparently,
22,
if
I
you pay,
believe.
you can have protection for another 3 years.
Yeah, so that's called an extended security updates, or ESU. Um, ESU licenses get more expensive every year because they're trying to encourage you to upgrade. Go figure. Um, so if you don't have ESU on your server 2008 or 2012 or anything else that's end of life, also known as EOL, it's out of date. Sorry, I'm reading what Justin posted.
I know
Uh,
Justin speaks up. We got some comments to catch up on.
um, but anyways, we'll get to the comments in just a moment. But if you don't have an ESU, then if you're using a vulnerability scanner, or if your EDR has a built-in, like this is the open CVEs on a device, you're going to see those CVEs all the time. They're
What's a
never going to.
CVE?
CVE is
We've got a lot of people who are just
ooh,
getting into cyber. What's a CVE? Common? Is that a common
common
vulnerability?
vulnerability enumeration, I believe, is E. I always mess up what the E is. Common vulnerability enumeration. We're gonna have to double check that one. Maybe someone in the chat has it double checked. Maybe you know it.
Common vulnerabilities and exposures.
Exposures. That's what it is.
Exposures.
Yeah.
So it's a
I always
CVE,
mess up
right?
the E. You get so lost when you're doing the ITIS world. There's so many. You know, it's alphabet soup, right?
Well, yeah, and you hit on something. I want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's very important that as cybersecurity professionals, as if you're just getting here or you're just getting into the industry, I want people to understand, like, You can't literally patch everything, right? You
No.
can't fully secure. So at some point, there is an acceptable. This is the crappy part. And correct me if I'm wrong. In
Mm-hmm.
our jobs, there is an acceptable amount of risk and acceptable amount of proverbial crap that's going to hit the fan.
And that's why compensating controls exist. You
Okay.
have to put in other defenses in front of these things that you cannot bring up to date, that you cannot update for whatever reason. Maybe it'll break something. Because you could have a server 2016 device, and that's still technically in date, not quite out of end of life
Mm-hmm.
yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's running a line of business app.
Mm-hmm.
But if you move it to 2022, maybe you lose. There's a lot of different things that could happen. There's certain code
Well, you can
bases and
you
different
could
things
use
that you lose, and
you could
the
lose
app doesn't
legacy
work anymore.
programs that maybe
Mhm.
the business depends on for their day to day income. Like,
Have a good
is
one,
that
Capone.
I mean, I think that's something that people
Mhm.
don't take into account. Is
Mhm.
that we patch things, we fix things, but there is a cost. At the end of the line, at the end of the day, there's a bottom line.
Mhm.
And we as cybersecurity professionals, we don't get to look at the bottom line. In fact, we are not paid enough to look at the bottom line. And sometimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, what's going on? We got Joshua Mason in the house. Welcome. At the end of the day, like sometimes like if we were to kill these, some of these legacy programs, the business could shut down. And so
Oh,
it's not a man.
absolutely.
You can't patch everything or have zero risk.
No. I mean, so you can't patch everything and you can't have zero risk, that's true, but you can always put compensating controls in front of it. There's
Sure.
always things you can do to mitigate that risk or at least lessen the impact if it is exploited. Um, and really, that's what vulnerability management is, and that's what GRC is. Governance. Oh, it just flooded my mind. What is it? Governance, regulation, and compliance, right?
Risk, risk,
Risk and compliance.
risk,
That's what it
risk.
is.
Because
Um,
because there is that part of uh
yeah, you got
a
me on
level of
stage over
risk.
here. I'm forgetting all my acronyms.
No,
I'm
you're
like, oh
good. I
man, I
think
haven't hit
oh
the book
dude,
in a
we had
while.
we had Dr. Jerry Ozier live on stream at Wild West Hacking Fest and he got a question wrong. Like that's the name of you don't know everything all the time.
And
In
Josh
theory,
Mason.
if the
Sorry, I didn't mean
company
to interrupt
wants
you.
it.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh Mason is right on the dime. If the company wants a compensating control, you can put it in. Obviously, compensating controls cost money most of the time, at least. There are open source things, but time is money, and it takes time to implement. Um, and if the company doesn't want you to put it in, then it's just accepted, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And I think that's man, that's the hard part is us as cybersecurity professionals can get together on a live stream. We can get together as a community. But at the end of the day, sometimes if the bottom line, if cybersecurity and information security and data protection is not in somewhere in that, we become a footnote. And I just think it's really important that we don't become that footnote in some line item. Like we should have done better. We should have done quantified risk assessments, right? We should have done some tabletop exercises. We should have done things, but now it's too late. And as a father, I would be livid if some company just all of a sudden was loosey goosey. My kiddo's data is out, floating in the wild, and so there's that bottom line part.
And thankfully, companies nowadays, you see it more often that they are becoming cyber aware and they understand the impact of of getting your data stolen because it's happening all the time.
Right.
Um, but there are still plenty of companies who just don't care. They're trying to profit and they need to keep their overhead as low as possible. And sometimes that negligence is what causes these breaches.
Yeah. Negligence is or complacence.
Yeah, complacency, negligence,
Complacence.
either or.
We're going to go to chat for a second. So to give you a heads up, we're going to go to chat for a minute and then let's get into some questions if you're cool with that. Joseph, do you mind hanging out with us for a second and
Oh, absolutely.
answering a few of the Professor Messer questions? Whether you get them right or wrong is irrelevant. I would love to hear, as somebody who just took the exam and passed, congratulations, as
Thank
well
you.
as a person who works in vulnerability management. I would love to see like your approach to answering some of these questions.
Hmm.
If you're cool with that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's fine with me. I'm reading Josh Mason's comment over here. That will inconvenience the developers and they make us money, so we don't want to bother them. Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
uh,
I mean,
I have seen in the past where there was a line of business running on a 2008 server, and and we're like, hey, this needs to get upgraded like ASAP, and they're like, no, and we're like, why? And they're basically, we just don't feel like rebuilding the app. We have other things we need to do. So
right. So, you know, it's like,
that is definitely a factor.
yeah, and that's fair. And that's fair. Um, this is pretty similar to my experience, sadly. Justin Gold, I know that you work in the IT and cybersecurity world, kind of doing similar ish to what I do, coming alongside an MSP. Let's take a second. What do you guys think? Have any of you had experience working with MSPs or MSSPs? And what does that look like for you? Answer in chat. In the meantime, I'm going to dial up some questions, go through chat, make sure we didn't miss anything. Justin Gold said, time management is the hardest part, in my opinion. When you're juggling so
Absolutely.
many things, trying to keep up on what's going on and dealing with pop up priorities, it can seem like you're just fighting a losing fight. That is, that's very valid, especially at that um, entry level slash wear multiple hats thing is that you have a bigger picture. You know, you need to secure a business or an organization, but you get so caught up in the now that you never actually get to do what you're supposed to do. I think that's very valid.
Hmm.
At least for me, I definitely feel that. I resonate with that big time.
Hmm. And there are definitely instances, of course, where MSPs can be great or horrible. Same with VARs. Absolutely.
Yep. Yep.
Um, if it's running on 2008, then it's small enough to virtualize. Yeah, no, and at the end of the day, that is the ultimate solution. Is just throw it on a virtual server and secure that server that's running the virtual machines more. Um,
Sometimes we get the same repeat visitors. Sometimes we get brand new people.
mhm.
What can you just go as a professional? What is an MSP? What's an MSSP? What is a VAR like?
So an MSP is a managed service provider, and an MSSP is the same thing if they thought about implementing security. So it's a managed secure service provider. Um, Barricade is an MSSP, so that is technically what I'm doing as work is being an MSSP. Um, so they usually work with small to medium businesses or enterprise, depending on the scale. Um, Instead of having in-house IT, they might have, or at least instead of having an in-house, like an entire department of IT, they'll have one or two IT providers. This they being the business, and then they will reach out to an MSP or an MSSP to kind of have multiple people for the price of like one or two FTEs a year. Um, an FTE being a full-time employee. Um, and Josh Mason's right on the dime again. You know, go figure. He's the smartest man in the room. I should have got him on here, not me, Jesse.
You are here
Um,
for a very specific reason, my friend.
no, but absolutely outsourced IT or outsourced cyber department, and they really do. They really are just the providers of the MDR managed EDR equals outsourced. Yeah, they really are just the providers of services. Whether or not they are secure is another story. Um,
Tony Parrish, do you work with client on site or remote management of their servers?
Sorry, I keep getting distracted by chat. I don't know how you do it. It just pops up over here and it's like, my attention goes over here. Um no, and absolutely, Josh Mason. I was just more so poking fun at you. Um I appreciate the work you do. I see it on LinkedIn all the time. I know Jesse does. It was great seeing you at Wild West Hackin' Fest. Do you work with client on site or remote management of their servers? Both. Um, it really depends on what's needed, right? If it is feasible that you could never go on site for a client as an MSSP, you would need somebody on site already that they have employed to be your smart hands, though. Typically, though, you will see that there are at least yearly to bi-yearly site visits sometime. It really, again, it depends on the client, right? Yearly to bi-yearly site visits. Some people have never met anybody from their MSP or MSSP. I know I have heard stories from people I've talked to as when I've gone on site for different projects that their previous provider, they didn't know who to talk to. They didn't know their names. They didn't even know they thought these two people who were in the networking room all the time were doing everything. When in fact, of course, it's much more than that, right? You have two people who answer to another people, and it does get messy at times if your project management isn't good. Because if you don't have a solid way of keeping up with projects and tasks, then sometimes as somebody on site, and then I'm saying, like, I'm not an MSSP right now. Let's say I'm managing a business for somebody. If I can't communicate with my provider what needs to be done and they don't get back to me, then nothing gets done. You're stuck spinning in the mud. And that is one of the downsides of a service provider, right? And that's why as a provider, it is good to be transparent, and that's why I think that having people go out to visit every so often is a good thing because you build that rapport. Um, but either way, as to answer your question, I'm sorry I rambled a little bit, Tony Parrish,
No,
but
we love it. I love the ramble. Do you think the hate towards MSPs is warranted?
I definitely think it can be.
It can be. I love your answers.
I definitely think it can be. It really depends on the service provider.
Sure.
Um, there is a saying that I've heard in the industry that all you need to do to start an MSP is have a credit card. Because so long as you have a credit card, you can hire the people who actually know what they're doing. So there are security companies run by security people, and there are security companies run by business people, and um, and uh, typically the ones run by business people tend to do worse. There are some really crappy MSPs and MS. Well, thankfully, I'm working as an MSSP for my company. Well, I'm not the entire MSSP, but that's my side of the house. We have the digital forensics and the MSSP.
Straight cash, homie. Oh my, I can literally hear it. Tony
Oh yeah,
Parrish, you're dropping those Simply Cyber daily bomb those emotes right now. It's making me laugh. I need to get myself a little stream deck up here.
no, but thankfully, I don't think I'm a crappy MSSP, Josh. You can always try out my services though.
As the kids say,
um,
bet. All right, bet.
no,
Cool.
but
All right.
absolutely though, the hate is sometimes warranted because there are really crappy ones, and it can make doing your daily job a nightmare.
Yep. It can. It can. What's up, Margarita Giron? It's good to see you in chat. Welcome, homie. Straight cash, homie. Whoop. Joseph, we got about, I don't know, 20 minutes left, give or take. Are you down to answer some questions?
Oh,
These are a
absolutely.
combination of Professor Messer questions and pocket prep. So those are the only ones that you're going to be answering. Are you down to do a little bit of answering, and then would you be open to some Q&A?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so see, people can drop in chat. I'm going to take chat overlay out for a second so I can bring in our handy dandy this guy.
This is where the lighting in the room is gonna really wash me out.
It's okay. You look great. So this is your first time joining us. One of the things that we really like to do here at Slay Security Plus is reinforce the things that you're learning through Messer and Pocket Prep and, Unix Guy and Jason Dion or whoever it is that you're learning from. It's really important that you then quiz yourself, right? There's this important aspect of being quizzed and making sure that you know what you do. So, all that to say, one of the favorite things that we do here at Slay Security Plus is online quizzing. This is completely anonymous. You can join us at the vvox.app, and our ID for today's session is 102-752-438, or you can scan that QR code there on the right or my left, and it should take you to this specific exam/session. And I want to make it clear that Joseph cannot see and I cannot see. Nobody in the entire internet community, without doing some work that I'm not paid to do, can see who is voting, what they're voting. So I give you this quiz. I give you your phone. Answer the questions. Which of the following is an external system that provides secure storage of cryptographic data? TPM, or Trusted Platform Module, HSM, or Hardware Security Module, Password Audit, or Password Key. Joseph, I'm going to have you chime in here in a second. We'll give our crew a few seconds to answer this question.
Mm-hmm.
As a person who just took the exam, humor me. What are some things that you see in this question and some things in this answer that you would like? How would you approach this question? What are some things that stand out to you?
So the first thing that stands out to me is external system. External system to provide secure storage of cryptographic data. So cryptographic is a keyword, external is a keyword. Those should ring two little bells in your head. When you need to store cryptographic data, only two of these answers on the answer list work. Password audit, password key, those are not going to be correct. There are two modules.
Are they incorrect because they're bad answers, or are they incorrect because they don't satisfy the question?
They don't satisfy the question. Simply put, like, they are adjacent to the topic, but you have to think about what is a system that provides secure storage of the data, right? And there are two answers, TPM and HSM. Right, they aren't relevant at all. No,
Yeah.
correct. TPM and HSM are two answers that could be correct, but the keyword here, external, tells me it's an HSM. So a hardware security module.
All right, let's see what the survey says.
So we got about 2/3 coming up with what I presume to be the right answer, right?
Right, and I think the key word in all of this, I love that people that there is about 27% that chose TPM because we're on the same page, right? We're thinking something that is hardwired or burned into a system. Something that I would really keep in mind as you're taking this exam is TPM is going to be hardwired, burned in on the motherboard inside your computer.
Yep.
Right? Whereas an HSM, we're thinking external, an
Mhm.
external system. They can be small now. If
Mhm.
you Google HSMs, they can actually be pretty big too. Like fill up, I don't know. I mean, it depends on what you're looking for.
They can take up a server rack. They can be
Yeah.
in line.
Yep.
But as Josh Mason said, like a YubiKey, basically. Anything like that is going to be a hardware security module that stores passwords or cryptographic data.
That's a great. I think that's a great. Actually, Josh, thanks for bringing it up. That's a great real life example of an HSM. Outside of the rack space filling giant HSMs, that's a great example.
And
TPM is baked onto the motherboard. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. That the key word here is going to be that external for me
And
in this question.
fun fact, not all motherboards have TPMs. That's why HSMs can be great, because if you want to run something like BitLocker that requires a TPM, that HSM can subside for that. That can stand in for it.
And Josh makes another great point that you could have a cloud HSM as well.
Yes, you can.
Somebody else, yeah, in somebody else's closet, basically, is the way I look at that. Let's open another one. Here we go. This will be a fun one. A new data center is being built in the corporate headquarters of Acme, and the design elements are being considered. One of the primary concerns is handling the heat generated by such a large server set. What can Acme use to dissipate the server room heat? HVAC, or heating, ventilation, and air conditioning,
Hmm.
fans, cooling liquid, or AC, or air conditioning. It looks like I forgot a period at the end of C.
This one's tricky. I'm not gonna lie, because all of the answers are extremely similar. Um, it's the keyword really is dissipate the server room heat. Um, I'm probably gonna get this one wrong because again, the answers are very, very similar. But I would probably say AC or HVAC, just because HVAC does stand for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning.
If you
It's
were
got to
taking
be.
the exam, and you had to pick an answer, only one, which one would you pick?
I would more than likely pick AC because you're not going to want to pump more heat into a room that is already very hot.
Let's see what the survey says. Survey says,
Ooh, everybody's against me. I
oh,
think I'm wrong.
whoa. At least in this example, per Pocket Prep, the correct answer is HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. That kind of covers that because we have the heating element. When we think heating, we do tend to think like, which it does have to do with
It's definitely HVAC.
HVAC. It's that ventilation and air conditioning part that combines the whole HVAC system.
Hmm. And this is a great example of a very CompTIA like question because I would have gotten this one wrong on the test. I really would have because I would have picked AC. Um, but HVAC was a close second because there was a little chime at the back of the head that was like, no, it's HVAC. I'm like, no, AC makes more sense. You don't want heat in a heated room.
Right. And at least for 601, Josh makes a great point. The answer is always HVAC for Security Plus.
Mhm.
So that's what they're going to be looking for. And that's the
Good to
thing
know.
is like, that's the frustrating part with CompTIA is they're going to be looking for a set of answers. And again, the best
Mhm.
answer for what they're looking for. Let's go over this question one more time. New data center is being built in the Acme, in the headquarters of Acme, and the design elements are being considered. One of the primary concerns is handling the heat generated by such a large server set. Think HVAC, think heating, ventilation, which is taking that hot air. It actually runs it through either liquid cooled or air cooled fans and basically cools it and brings it back. It's a recycle of air.
And
As a
it
good way
does
to think about it.
that answer does make sense. It's just that it's tricky. It's
Yep,
tricky. And
absolutely.
they
Yeah,
do try to trick you on that test. They
yeah.
really, really do.
Well, and this is something I tell people. This is something I tell the community is CompTIA doesn't necessarily give trick questions. They don't trick you. But
Well,
this is a good example of something that could throw some like because really AC isn't the wrong answer.
it's just
It's
not the
just not the
whole
best answer
answer.
for what
Right.
CompTIA is looking for. Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's-
And it's not necessarily that they're trying to trick you. They're more so ensuring that you aren't speeding through the question
Yep.
and that you are understanding the content that they put out.
Speeding through
Um,
the question, that's a huge issue that I see, at least for me in my practice and in other examples I've done, is speeding through the question. You think you know what it's going to say. 3/4 through the question, we tend to answer it for ourselves. I cannot stress to you that are getting to take the exam how important it is to truly read the stupid question from the beginning all the way to the end.
mhm. And again, Josh, hold on, the answer the answer is what test maker decides is best answer, not what you think is best. I mean, yeah, to an amount, but as Josh Mason was pointing out, um, they want you to understand that all three of those things are part of HVAC. And yeah, honestly, I got it wrong, right?
Yep.
Happens.
The answer is what the test taker said. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes that is the case with these tests.
I
This
promise
would
you,
be
if I
fun.
saw it again, I wouldn't get it wrong because now I'm
Oh,
gonna think about it at night. It's gonna be one of those
right.
things like
I'll
10
get a
years
late
from
night text,
now.
Joseph. I'll get a late night text and early morning text, like, "Hey, just so you know, you know."
Yeah.
The rise of online video conferencing in recent years has made which of the following protocols more important than before? SRTP, or Secure Real Time Protocol, HTTPS, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secured, SSH, or Secured Shell, or SFTP, Secured File Transfer Protocol. The rise of online video conferencing, keyword, in recent years has made which of the following protocols more important than before?
So yeah, as you said, video conferencing is the keyword. Let's give the people some time to answer, but I have my answer locked in.
You do?
Oh yeah,
Is it SSH?
for sure. Yeah.
I believe it's actually the protocol that's handling what this most of what we're doing right now.
It would be. Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's give them 3, 2, 1. Joseph Cadden, what is your answer on this
So,
question?
so my answer is SRTP, Secure Real Time Transport Protocol.
And
Um,
why?
because when you are thinking of video conferencing or voice calling, you want it in real time. You don't want to have to say something and then wait 5 seconds and hear an answer and then wait 10 seconds to say something again so you're not talking over them on accident. You want it to be I say something, you say something, I say something, you say something. It's real time. Um,
Oh wow, real time.
HTT.
Is real time typically TCP packets or is real time UDP?
Oh, UDP every day. So the difference between TCP and UDP, TCP is going to do an integrity check every time it sends something. UDP is just sending packets. They don't care if they're a whole. They don't care if everything's there. They just want to get it there. They are what I like to call the quickest train on the railroad. Um,
Is that half duplex or full duplex? Josh is coming in with some of the hotter answers.
ooh,
That's a good one.
that would be full duplex knowledge if my networking knowledge serves me well. It's been a while since I've done networking, but I
Come
believe
on,
that's full
Cyrus.
duplex
Sure.
because half duplex sends then receives, full duplex sends and receives at the same time.
When I
Come on,
this
come
is
on,
great. When I
Josh, am I
fully
right?
understood when I fully understood this is coming from Zach. When I fully understood the difference between TCP and UDP, I started getting a lot more practice questions right. Yes. It's really important when you think TCP that we look at that three-way handshake, right? Syn,
hmm
synac, what is it? Syn, synac, and then an ack back. At any rate, we're sending out packets.
hmm
Sorry, I saw Josh's comment come up. RTP is UDP, SRTP is encrypted RTP. Ooh. Yeah,
hmm
what makes it we can talk about what that encryption looks like.
hmm
So is SRTP UDP or TCP? SRTP is still UDP packets. And we're both waiting to see if
No,
Josh
no,
corrects us or
hold
not. Are
on.
you
No, no,
sure? Are
no.
you
Yeah,
Googling
no.
answers? Are you
Ah,
sure?
my hands are right here. Um, no, he might be right. It is TCP because you have to ensure oh no, hold on. He's tripping me up.
No, because
Uh, it's UDP because it's video, but the
it's still
TCP
UDP.
has to encrypt.
Right. So are we talking PKI? Is there a key that's in place? Like, what are we thinking when we look at SRTP? Because this is where it gets really interesting.
hmm
Is we in the security community are given this set of it is UDP. I
Right.
slash we are correct. It is still UDP. Um,
The encryption
this is
isn't.
where this is where we take that security plus and we look at that from a CISSP, right? We take that to the next level because that is one of the issues that frustrates me with security plus is we give
hmm
just enough for somebody to pass the exam,
hmm
but we're not giving people enough to truly make them better cybersecurity professionals. And I think that's probably one of the most frustrating parts.
So yeah, as I thought, he's saying that that the RTP is UDP, but the encryption is still going to be TCP.
Yep.
Um,
And
but to
the secure
explain.
part
hmm
that relies on that TLS, transport layer security. Again, there's a handshake there, right?
hmm There is a handshake. But let's focus on why the other answers are wrong real
Sure,
quick.
let's do that.
So HTTPS stands for Hypertext Transport Protocol Secure, or over SSL, or oh, hold on. Josh is correcting us over here. Anyways, HTTPS, that is going to be things like a web server, anything like that. SSH stands for Secure Shell. So a shell is going to be something that you can use to send commands. That's still not going to transport any kind of video conferencing.
Hey,
SFTP.
Cyber 5, welcome.
SFTP stands for Secure File Transport Protocol, and as it says in the name, it's for transferring files. Could the file be a video? Yes, but it's not going to be a video that's playing while it's transferred. SSL is depreciated, by the way. Yes.
Real quick, Josh is going to say something later. Josh, as far as I know, for all of you that are tuning in, if you're interested in taking your security further, Josh does do a CISSP class, and I would highly recommend. Josh, you're welcome to drop that link or give it to me. You can hit me up on Discord, and I will put that link in chat if you want to share. But Josh teaches a CISSP class, and we may or may not be working together on a future some Security Plus material. But Josh Mason, thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us on chat. Let us know. You're welcome to drop your SSP class link in chat. I'll see if you text me via SMS, which looks like you have not.
And to make good on his point, yes, SSL is deprecated. TLS is what we use right now, transport layer security. TLS 1.3 is the current version, I believe. Just came out this year or last year.
Last year, yeah, I think it was last. Yeah. One thing I want to be super. We hear SSL and TLS used interchangeably. Most of the industry still says SSL, which that is completely true. SSL is a deprecated form of encryption. We do use TLS, but for those of you that are studying for the exam, you will see TLS and SSL used interchangeably. Understand that is not the case. We use TLS 1.3 as our method of encryption, but we still, in the industry, for whatever reason, because I guess we don't like change, I don't know why, but it's still referred to as SSL, at least for the time being. So something to kind of throw in that toolbox of things you go, what the heck is going on?
So CyberSec, SRTP itself, the RTP part, which transports the video, is going to be UDP, whereas the encryption most of the time is TCP. I say most of the time. I'm pretty sure it's actually all of the time, but I've been jumped by Josh this stream, and I don't want to be wrong. No, as far as I'm aware, all encryption is TCP, because you have to do a redundancy check. You have to ensure that encryption is still the same the whole way, because if it changes, that means it's been compromised of some sort, right?
Maybe a man in the middle. This is going to be our last question before we go into some Q&A. An organization is looking to enhance their business continuity plan and is examining the internet connection and network elements. The consultant hired by the executives noted there is only one cable internet connection. Which of the following would be an adequate solution? RAID, or redundant array of inexpensive disks, UPS, redundant ISP, or clusters? What are some keywords that stand out to you, Joseph?
So business continuity would be a big keyword there. You want your business to keep going. Internet connection and network elements. Those are more keywords for the answers on this one, and it really... So if you start with business continuity, you're going to get You're going to get 3 answers. It pretty much eliminates clusters. Clusters are more so used for speed of applications or other use cases, right? Um, you get RAID, UPS, and redundant ISP. RAID is going to be a method of storage, sometimes used for speed. It depends on which RAID you use, but sometimes used for redundancy, as entails in the name.
Does
So
RAID
that
have any? Does RAID have
Mhm.
anything to do with internet connections?
Absolutely not. It's for storage. So it's used for redundancy of storage. UPS, uninterruptible power supply. Almost had a little tongue slip there. Um, is for power, whereas a redundant ISP, internet service provider, does most certainly deal with internet connection and network elements. So
And I
if
actually want
you,
to take this down.
Mhm.
Like, I don't mean to interrupt you and cut you off, but like,
No, absolutely.
even the word redundant, and I don't want
Mhm.
like for some people, including myself at times, some of the words that like, what does redundant mean?
Redundant
Uh,
typically means I'm trying to think of a way to say it without just saying redundant. Um,
backup,
when
a
you
backup.
yeah, a backup. When you have something that isn't necessary but is used when one thing fails, then it's redundant. You have the same of another thing, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and when I was a rock climber for a long time, we would always use redundant anchors. So you
Mhm.
build up you set up the one anchor, and you set up a second anchor, which is almost identical to the first, so that
Mhm.
if the first one gives away, there is something equally as efficient or equally as good still
Mhm.
there. Almost a
So,
backup of the same.
mhm. And let's see what they answered. I'm curious.
Sure.
What do we got? Redundant ISP. So we had RAID and we had UPS. Good. That it
I like that clusters were not selected.
Mhm. So business continuity, RAID, UPS, redundant ISP. I definitely, those are the 3 that business continuity usually comes with. There are more business continuity answers, of course, but when it comes to an internet connection, you're going to want another ISP because let's say, for instance, and this has happened in many, many, many an environment. Let's say, for instance, you are a web provider of some sort. You have a website that provides content. Let's say you're hosting the Security Plus stream. You're YouTube. Congrats on all the money. Um, so if you're YouTube and you have to continue providing videos for everybody day and night, you want to be able to have an internet connection no matter what. And of course, they have dozens upon dozens of servers, server locations, so they have a lot more business continuity and whatnot than a normal company would. But let's say YouTube's a small shop. Let's say you are one man YouTube who is providing videos, or one woman YouTube, one person YouTube who's providing videos. If your internet goes out because your ISP goes down, now you have no internet, you cannot provide. If you have a
No
second
YouTubes.
service, yeah, no YouTubes. If you have a second service clarify clusters for me. I'm a little foggy on their exact purpose. Yeah, we'll clarify clusters in just a moment. Um, if you have a second service provider, then that failover pops in, hopefully, that failover pops in, and you're now sending packets across the wire again. Um,
And I want to make it clear that like when we talk about second ISPs, like do you have a backup ISP for your home connection? No.
no.
Most people don't. So we're thinking we're thinking enterprise level. Think enterprise business level, not your grandma's ISP.
Hmm. And a lot of your ISPs that do provide to homes are the same ISPs that provide to businesses, but they're definitely different plans, different pricings, different SLAs,
I was
level
just gonna say different SLAs. What's an SLA for those
service
of
level agreements.
Yep.
So basically, that's the paperwork that no one ever reads.
Yep. It says
Um,
uptimes, runtimes. We can start getting into mean time to recovery, mean time to
oh yeah.
restore.
Mhm.
We'll get into all those things later, but those are a lot of times covered in your SLA. Would
So
you
that's the
mind
paperwork
answering
that you
Zach's question?
absolutely should read, though. I will say that much. You want to be very, very, very aware of your SLAs, because if they put in their SLA that they only have to provide you internet 25% of the time, well, then you can only have internet on Wednesday and Thursday and then be down for the rest of the week. And they're still in compliance with their agreement.
Yeah,
Um, and best documentation available. Get it hard copied. Absolutely. Hard
preach,
copied with
preach.
signatures. You
Uh,
want everything you can get on that thing. You have to
I
hold
don't
them.
have one. Yeah, I have an SLA here from the MSP that we are currently working with, and it is a hard copy, uh, basically a small book of our SLA.
So, Zach, a cluster is a group of typically servers that they usually have other resources tied to them. They can have network attached storage, or they can have a storage area network. Which, yes, that does sound really silly that there is a network attached storage in a storage area network. Yes, they are different. It can yes, it's a form of load balancing, it's a form of redundancy, but well, at least it can be a form of redundancy if they have it set up that way. Um, but typically a cluster is a group of servers that act like one system. So, for instance, let's say you have a website and you get a lot of visitors, you would probably set up another web server that is the same web server. I say this in a bold quotes, but it is that would be clustering. So it would send one one traffic request to this server, one traffic request to that server, this server, that server, this server. And there's different ways of setting it up, of course, because there's always different ways of setting it up. When you think you've learned one method that does everything, there are 15 more that get invented tomorrow. Um, sorry, I keep getting. How do you do this, man? How do you get like not distracted by the chat that just keeps popping up?
Because my number one concern is making sure that we are
Yeah, but it's like
Jesse, don't forget we have
someone's
two
over here is
giveaways,
like
two vouchers
jingling
to
keys.
cyber. It's what's up?
It's like over.
I
It's
know.
like someone over here jingling keys. Just like it's like I'm talking and it's just like it's movement. Hi, what are we saying over here?
Squirrel.
Yeah. Um.
Margarita, Giron, we don't forget we have a giveaway today, Slay Security Plus. I think we're gonna hold off on a giveaway tonight. I think we're gonna hold off. We're gonna hold off on the giveaway. Um, for a couple of reasons, because I want to do the giveaway justice. I think it's important that we do the giveaway justice, and I'm getting squirreled. But we want to we want to give the giveaway justice, and so let's do a special Slay Security Plus either Monday or next Thursday, and we'll get that giveaway taken care of. I've got a couple giveaways. We actually have a Security Plus voucher that we need to announce. That winner has been selected on Jerry's 500th episode of the Simply Cyber Daily Threat Brief. We are working through all of that stuff. What's up, John Vitucci? Hey, y'all. Still got
What's going
people
on,
over, but
John?
watching a bit. No worries. We're wrapping things up. We're going to take away the questions, and I'm going to open up chat. We've got about 20, 25 of us. Throw in your questions. I have a question for you, Joseph. Let me take this out. What are some things that what are some things that you weren't prepared for as you got into the industry, as you've just taken your Security Plus? I know a lot of people in chat are getting ready to or have just taking their exams. What are some things that you are not prepared for that no certification can prepare you for?
I don't think it's necessarily that no certification can prepare you for it, but when you get into the industry, especially in your first 90 days, it can be very overwhelming. Um, there is a lot to catch up on because, when you're hitting the books and you're hitting labs, everything is in this perfect world where everything works right the first time. And I can say without fail that most things in real life do not work the first time. Um, you really problem solving is an invaluable skill in our industry. Being able to problem solve and being able to communicate. Um, being able to rely on your teammates, being able to rely on people who have been in the industry, that your peers. Um, because when I was first getting in, um, I was coming basically straight out of help desk, and my knowledge of security was really all I was riding off of. I learned very, very quickly just how important an understanding of networking was. I had a knowledge of networking, but it wasn't really to the point that I would have liked it to have been. um, but understanding the fundamentals above all is going to save you so much time and grief when you get into the security field. Because
Hold on,
while
hold
huh?
on, hold on. Are you telling people that they need to spend money and get their A plus and Net plus before they
No,
get into
no, no,
cybersecurity?
no. The A plus and Net plus are completely optional.
Are you
For
saying that people should have at least a good understanding of the material included in those certifications?
absolutely, absolutely. And I did. I had a great understanding of the A plus and Net plus, but real life goes way more in depth than your Net plus and your A plus. Thankfully, I had a little experience working help desk where I was diagnosing hardware and operating system issues all the time. So on that front, I was fine. But when it came to networking issues, there was a lot of Google involved. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of Google, a lot of relying on my boss, my other coworkers, sometimes even my peers. Um, I knew a lot of the basics, of course, but when it comes to keeping a business afloat and running, either you're extremely intimate with that network, which happens with time, um, or you are scrambling to try and figure out what broke where, and there are no sparking wires, unfortunately. Um, First 90 days, something that I wish I really could have done different. Let's see. If I had one takeaway from my first 90 days.
You're brand new. First 90
Yeah.
days, just got the job in cyber,
Mhm.
whatever that looks like. First 90 days, what would you tell somebody who's just getting in the industry?
It's tough. I mean, I'd say probably my most valuable learning experience is learning that I don't have to do everything alone.
That's key. I think a lot of times in this industry we get siloed. I
Mhm.
think it's easy to think that you're a one man army against the world.
Mhm.
Um, that's really 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 a good like
Because
yeah.
I'll tell you, when I was first 90 days in and I was still hot off the press, and I was I was trying to get everything, uh I was trying to learn the environment, right? Um I wasn't asking for help because I didn't feel like I didn't want to seem as though I was, incompetent. Everybody has a fear of being seen as incompetent because they're asking for help. But in reality, a lot of time could have been saved, a lot of effort could have been saved from asking for help, right? And I will never think of anybody as lesser for not knowing something. I'll never think of anybody as lesser for asking a question, be it
Will you
a
think lesser of somebody if they pretend to know it and then damage a system because they faked it till they maked it instead of ask questions?
it depends on how they did it.
Right.
Pretending to know it because you don't want to like seem wrong. Um,
Fireshell84 says imposter syndrome. Welcome,
absolutely.
Space
Yeah.
Tacos. Thank you for
Space
being here.
tacos.
Uh, Tony made a good point. He said, find a good mentor. And I
Find
want
a
to
good
make
men.
it clear that
Absolutely.
I want to
Mhm.
make it clear that mentors aren't just the people we see on YouTube. Mentors aren't just Heath Adams and Zach and Casually Joseph and Justin Gold. Mentors are literally all around us just by showing up. And I want to make that really abundantly clear that I got to echo what Jerry says, commenting, getting in there. Like, you'll find mentorship around every corner.
Hi, Space Tacos. And yeah, no, mentorship is everywhere. B-sides, if you go to a B-sides, a local B-sides, you can find a mentor there. I go to a monthly event full of cybersecurity folks around here, and there are mentors there. I mean, some of them are old, some of them are my age, um, but there are mentors everywhere. Just building a good rapport. But to kind of track back to what you were asking, if I would ever think lesser of anybody for pretending that they knew something, no, for the most part. I mean, obviously, if you're being a prick, showing off, thinking that you can do
Sorry,
everything and
Kennedy.
anything, I don't. Is prick a bad word?
It's a sorry, Kennedy. Maybe if you're in the UK.
Sorry, Kennedy. um. Anyways, if you're being mean, get a little censor in there. If you're being mean and thinking that you know everything and you knock over a bunch of servers, well, then I might laugh at you in the break room a little bit when you come in for a cup of coffee. But everybody makes mistakes, so definitely don't feel bad for doing something wrong. Um, it's just the attitude you carry with it, right?
Yeah, when I look at,
Um,
I don't know, in my, not a bad word, definitely worth of a hashtag. Yeah, that's fair. I found myself, and I found myself saying that literally in my day-to-day life when I was watching football the other day, actually, and I was playing Mario. I was watching football, which I cussed quite a bit during football. I was playing Mario Kart with my wife, and I said, uh, effing something or rather. And I said, sorry, Kennedy. And my 2-year-old says, sorry, Kennedy, which was pretty cute.
and your wife was like, "Who?"
Who? No, she knows.
No,
She's
yeah.
overheard enough streams to know. Yeah. You can call them Jagwagon or Donkey or Bonehead. That's right.
Um, no, but yeah, no. I mean, I wouldn't think lesser of anybody, and you shouldn't think lesser of anybody if they make mistakes and whatnot. Obviously, unless they're being a bonehead. Thank you, Space Tacos. Um, unless they're being a bonehead, I mean, then of course you can formulate your own opinion. But really know that even if you're brand new, even if you were, even if you're fresh off the print, even if you've been in for 10 years, ask questions. Seriously, ask questions. Because if you don't ask questions and you assume you know the answer and you do cause an incident of some sort, it could have probably been avoided. It could have probably been avoided.
I err on the side of there are really no stupid questions. If you got to
No,
ask the question.
no,
You know, if you
absolutely
don't
not.
know where you're at, pull over and get directions.
Not everybody knows everything, and there have been times. There was funny enough. I had forgot we were. This was at Wild West Hacking Fest. And the great John Hammond. Everybody knows John Hammond. I was sat with John Hammond. I was talking to John Hammond. And before the presentation had started, and at some point during the presentation, they were talking about privilege access management, and they said PAM, and I had never actually heard it as an acronym called PAM. I just heard it as privilege access management all the time. So I lean over to John, and I'm like, "What's PAM?" And he looks at me. He goes, "I don't know."
And it's John Hammond. Like,
It's John Hammond, right?
mm.
Like I'm like, okay, and then someone down the table was like, "Oh, it's privileged access management." We're like, "Okay," and then we kept going. I mean, you kind of there are no, I promise, there are
So to
definitely.
highlight,
Mhm.
he didn't know
He didn't know.
something
He
that is a base, what some of us would consider a
basic,
basic
yeah.
level security plus, CC,
CYSA, absolutely.
CYSA, like an entry level type
Hmm.
of question. Just going to
Well,
show that freaking John Hammond is asking questions.
well, I
You
asked
don't
him a
know it
question.
all.
He wasn't
Yeah.
asking questions. I asked him a question. He just
Well,
didn't know
by
the
him
answer.
saying I don't know, that somebody goes, oh.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I touch back on there are a lot of acronyms in cybersecurity, and there are some acronyms that have multiple meanings.
Yeah, and don't let that scare you. Something that I will preface, and we got to get
Hmm.
going. I got the family.
Hmm.
They calling for daddy. Um, is that CompTIA, at least in my experience, there's a
Mm-hmm.
ton of acronyms. They're really going to test you on the ones that are commonly used throughout the exam.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I can leave you from Slay Security Plus as you're studying for your 601 or 701, yes, there's a lot of acronyms. Get really familiar with the ones that are in the exam objectives. They may pop you with some randos, but really you're going to get hit on the ones that are in the exam objectives more than
Mm-hmm.
anything else. Is that
Mm-hmm.
fair?
Yeah, absolutely. And I did notice that 3 out of 4 times they definitely spell out the acronyms for you. But when they don't, it's typically on your practical questions, or it's on the ones where they're testing you on your knowledge of that specific protocol or that acronym in general.
Yep.
Um,
You don't have to learn port numbers.
it
For your industry, it's
still
really
do,
good. And
still
and
do.
and yeah, still learn port numbers, still understand them, but understand that if you're studying for Security Plus, they could, but they don't typically ask for 443 versus 80. Like they don't ask that. So it's good to
I
know them. I
I
don't want
think
to
I
dismiss
had
the
my
importance.
practical questions. You had to know port numbers. None of the
Oh, like
written
on your
questions.
by practicals, you mean PBQs?
Yeah, the
Your
PBQs.
performance
Hmm.
based questions? Okay.
Because I had to set up a
Yep.
firewall,
Yep.
and they had port numbers. But for the
There may or may he's saying there may or may not be a firewall question that we all
yeah,
get.
yeah, there may or may not be one. um,
WPA3.
that actually was not on my test. WPA3.
Was it?
Nope.
See, and like obviously we can't discuss what's on the actual exam. I would just be familiar with setting up a basic enterprise level firewall, and that's something they don't really prep you for in any of the materials, which I found to be
No,
interesting.
you're gonna have to do their practical. What is it? What do they call that? Cert master.
Start master, or go to YouTube and check out Cybercraft. Um,
Absolutely. Get
Go
it
check
free
out
if you can.
Cybercraft. Save yourself the money. Go to Cybercraft on YouTube. He does a phenomenal job walking through the PBQs.
And I do. I know you want to wrap up. I have one little note.
Please,
Because
no,
I
the
remember.
microphone is yours, my friend.
Love the camaraderie. Yeah, it is. I love this group. It is probably one of the more active discords that I'm in. At least the one where I'm active. I'm in a lot of discords where I'm just kind of there. But I'm very active in the Sec Plus group. Uh, when I scheduled my test, I asked my girlfriend, my beautiful girlfriend, thank you for driving me all the way to the testing center, 2 hours away. Um, I asked her to get up at the crack of dawn to drive me out to this place so I could take my test, so I could study in the passenger seat. I'm talking, I had earbuds in. I was doing, I was doing pocket prep, and I was listening to some quick material on IT Pro TV and YouTube and wherever I could find it because I was nervous. I was sick to my stomach. I was like, I barely understand GDPR because there's so many terms, and I was like, I suck at GRC. I don't know this. I don't know this. And I watch the videos and I get to the testing center and I take the test. I kid you not. I spent 2 hours in that car studying GDPR, GRC, regulation compliance frameworks. And of course, this test is different for everybody. So I'm not saying it's going to be the same for you. But on the test that was given to me, I had one question about GDPR out of the almost 90 questions that I took. And that really it really hit a point where I was like, man, I should have just studied across the domains and not narrowed in on one because I set myself up there to be like expecting a lot of domain 5 questions and then not getting very many.
I got two. I got one regarding HIPAA, and I got
Hmm.
one regarding GDPR, and that was it.
Yep. And
Personally, that was it.
it's different for everybody. You might get a lot more. I had talked to somebody who was like, yeah, half my test was just domain 5. Um, but it you're going to be nervous when you go to take your test, but definitely mentally prepare yourself that you're probably going to pass. More than likely, you will pass. If you've been dedicating the time, if you've
Yep.
been putting in the effort to study, and you're confident enough to schedule the test, which, by the way, scheduling the test is going to make you study harder. Um, if you're confident enough to schedule the test, more than likely you will pass. You just have to get out of your head, get onto the keyboard, and really put the pedal to the metal and just knock it out of the park.
Dude, like I got nothing. That is that is the absolute truth. Above all, outside of Slay Security Plus, outside of Professor Messer, outside of Jason Dion, truly, if you've done the work, you're probably going to pass. Doesn't mean you are. There are going to be people that are in our community that fail. Unfortunately, failing is truly part of just becoming successful at something else. Practice test was key for me for passing Sec Plus.
Practice tests
Tests
are what
are.
helped me a lot.
I will tell you, and I will say this unabashedly, Professor Messer, in my professional experience and in my curriculum development and all the research I've done, Professor Messer does give you practice tests that are the closest to the real thing.
They're
Okay.
very similar.
Are they exact? No. I
No.
will tell you that I did have some legit Security Plus questions that were almost word for word from the Professor Messer exam. I also had some questions on the exam that were significantly harder than what Messer gave us. In fact, they had nothing to do with anything I studied at all whatsoever. Those are what CompTIA likes to call test questions. They will test you once in a while with a question that they're trying to maybe see how the response is, maybe for 701, maybe for 801. And so you may see a question on your exam that has nothing to do with anything you studied. Remember, just answer it and understand that CompTIA will not take away any points for those questions.
Oh, hey, wait. Hold on. Sorry, someone's coming in my room. One
Good.
second.
You're good. I'm taking you off. Cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our session of Slay Security Plus. I want to give a huge shout out to Casually Joseph or Joseph Cadden for coming on to our live stream. Thank you for your time, Joseph. Thank you for your expertise and the amount of engagement that you give. Are you good to come back on? Just nod your head. Okay.
Sorry
I want
about
to thank you for you're good. Thank you for being here, man. Thank you for your expertise. Thanks for being a friend to the Slay Security Plus community. But then long before we came along, long before I jumped into all this, you've been kind of in the industry working alongside people like Jerry. I think you're one of the people that watched some of his very first live streams ever. And so genuinely from the bottom of my heart as a person who looks up to people like you and the rest of the Slay Security Plus community, thank you for being here, brother. It means a ton to have you on our stream.
Thank you for inviting me. I mean, I'm not by any means an expert, and I'm not exactly what I like to call seasoned in the field, but it is nice to know that I had at least something to offer. And it was a good time talking to chat, getting distracted by chat, talking with you. I'm gonna remember HVAC into my late 60s, thinking about it at night.
You've got a ways.
Yeah, I'm like thinking about it at night. It's gonna be one of those like moments where you go to sleep and your brain's like, "Hey, what if we think about embarrassing moments, huh?" You ever have those when you guys
Every
try to go to
single
sleep?
waking day of my life. At my age, I don't get embarrassed very easily. I just say, you know what? It is what it is, my friend. It is not my prerogative. If you know what I'm saying. So
Absolutely.
you
No,
got this.
but thank you. I mean, seriously, I know it was a little sudden to get me on here and whatnot. I'm glad it worked, seemingly without a hitch.
It's
For now.
almost like you had an idea that you were going to be on stream. And then I want to give a huge shout out to Josh Mason. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the community. Thank you for reaching out to me as a fledgling cybersecurity professional and bringing me under your wing. I know you're not watching this, you're doing your own live stream, but I just wanted to thank you publicly for being on the stream. As always, a massive thank you to Justin Gold, who really set up the Security Plus server that we all operate on, which has kind of become Slay Security Plus. At the end of the day, it is Justin's server, and it is an extension of the Simply Cyber methodology and the Simply Cyber family. So huge thank you to Justin Gold. Special thank you to our moderators, Margarita Giron and John Vitucci. Thank you so much for helping keep me in line and just making sure that we are continually trying to give back to the community. I appreciate you so much. The security community appreciates you very much. I'm going to call it a night. Joseph, do you have any parting words for our slayers out there?
Nothing I can think of that I haven't already said. You don't want to see me go too red in the face.
Nah. Then you might wash you out even more, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Cool. I'm going to call it a night. Thank you, everybody, so much for being with us. My name is Jesse J. You are Slay Security Plus. Until next time, come find me on LinkedIn, find me on Discord. I will do my best to get back. Things have gotten absolutely crazy. Sorry, Kennedy, at my work. I mean, like zero sleep, crazy at work. So reach out to me. Find Casually Joseph. What's up, Dax? It's good to see you, buddy. We are wrapping up. Hit me up on Discord. All of you, thank you for being here. Stay safe, stay secure. And until next time, Slay Security Plus.